communication device means. This was the only thing that would link us with the outside world. We didn't have anything else. And it was not only the thing that we would hear news through those transistors. It was also that in Colombia, because there are so many hostages, there are radio programs devoted to broadcast the message of the families of the hostages. And the families never know if the hostages, the loved ones, are listening to their messages. They cannot know, but they do it because you never know. Perhaps they will, one day they will hear my message. So every day our families were sending messages. And we were listening to them. And that everyday message was for us the key of survival. Because it was the only moment of love that we would receive during the day. Of course, again, there were those who would receive messages and those who wouldn't. And that also was painful, and that also increased the, and also we would know through the radio what was happening to us, if there was a negotiation, if there was not a negotiation, what was being discussed between Colombians about us. And I remember once we were in this prison, and one of my fellow captives, who was very, observer, and he had always the last news in the camp. He was the one who was like gathering news everywhere. And he came to tell me that he had heard the guards saying that they were going to confiscate all the radios in the camp. And so he went to all my companions, one by one, and whispered to all of us in secret, "Be careful, they're going to come, they're going to die, they're going to take the radios." So by the time the guerrillas came to take the radios, I had taken my decision to just hide mine. And believe me, I was in panic. I knew I had to do it, but I was like, I thought, I'm going to faint. If they ask me something, I'm going to faint. But I did it. I just hid the radio. So I saw all my companions giving their radios to the guard, handing them over. And when it came to my turn, the guard, of course, said, "What about your radio? Give me the radio." And I said, "I don't have the radio anymore. It broke. And I threw it some months ago." And I was just, so scared that in my face he could read that I was lying. I was just trying to be as cool as I could, and I had my heart that was going to pop up of my throat. And the guy said, "Okay." And he went away. And there I was. I kept the radio. But I was, of course, very frightened to just use the radio, because now, the sound of the radio would come. And then I was very scared because, of course, in the group, there were people that were in touch with the guards and that were telling everything. There were what we call them the sapos, the frogs. And in Colombia, frogs mean the traitor. So we knew there were some traitors between us. So then there was this huge discussion between the hostages, because they decided, some of them, to blackmail me. "You have to give us your radio, or we're going to tell the guerrillas that you have a radio." And I was like, I cannot believe this is happening. So there was this, we had a reunion, and I was blackmailed by my fellow hostages, and they wanted me to hand the radio over to them. And I said, "No way, I'm sorry. Why didn't you keep your radios? Why do you want me to tell you if I have a radio or I have not a radio?" And I'm not going to answer this, because I know that here there are people that are going to tell the guerrillas if there's a radio or not. So I'm not answering. It came to a horrible discussion. And after a while, the discussion went on the responsibility factor, because I said, supposing that there is a radio, who's going to share the responsibility if they found the radio? Because if everybody wants to listen to the radio, and that's fine with me, everybody has to share the responsibility if something happens. And so we had this discussion, incredible discussion, saying, oh no, I cannot assume any responsibility. You just hide the radio, you don't hide the radio. Those kind of discussions. At the end, we finally agreed on sharing the responsibility and sharing the radio. And this was a very important moment because it was a moment of trust. It was the moment where we could finally gather around something that we could just share, and that complicity between all of us was very important in changing the mode of how we were relating to each other.
I want to come back to your rescue in a minute, but I want to take a break here and ask you about writing the book itself and why you decided to do that.